Hello everyone, Scott J. Way from Crucible Custom Props, Nerfworks Lab, and all the forums here. Today I have a kind of different video. It's 2-in-1 sort of, or 3-in-1. It's a show off of some vintage pieces, some replica pieces, and the comparison of Roman's new MPP replica versus the real thing. Now, let's start off with the odd duck out. This is a vintage Graflex, and forgive the gloves, guys. I know some people are like, oh my god, you're wearing gloves, but I'm wearing the gloves because I just wiped off all the fingerprints on these, and I'm going to be packing them up after the video, and I want to make sure that the people who commission these get them in a nice condition without my grubby paw prints all over them. So anyway, this is a vintage Graflex. It is a vintage Fulmer Graflex. It has a vintage Kobold clip on there. It has Todd's T-Track and a vintage circuit board here and a vintage red button, of course. This is a static replica. All these are static replicas, but this one is kind of cool. I know Nick has been hunting for the right Fulmer for a while for his ESB, and if you look here closely here at the back, I believe we have the correct alignment for the word new that you can see in the Wampa scene. Also, what I noticed is that the T-Track in that scene, I don't want to loosen it. So anyway, the T-Track in that scene don't line up quite exactly with the middle of the clamp. They line up slightly off like this way. If you look at that picture, you'll see that. And then the Kobold, kind of the point here kind of goes just about halfway in between the two. Now, one thing he didn't want to do is drill a bunch of holes in these. So these are shaved screws and shaved rivets. Even though I pulled them, this is all glued on. So it's plenty strong. You could hang it from a belt if you wanted to. It's not going to go anywhere. But it is not putting holes in the original Graflex. The only thing permanent change that has been done to the Graflex is the removal of the beer tab. The rest of it is 100% reversible. So that's it. There is the ESB. And the reason why we go with Todd's T-Tracks is, in my opinion, he has the profile right. Let's see if I can get that on camera. You can just see it right there. He has the profile right. I have some pictures of the real T-Track very, very close up. And in my opinion, this matches the profile more than any of the others. So that's why we're using Todd's there. Now, let's move on to the MPP portion of the video. So what we have in front of us here, let me just adjust the camera a bit, are 5 MPPs here. 1 is a New Hope, 3 are ESB. Now this one is mine. This is a vintage MPP. This one is Nick's, and these two are Tom's, and this one is my Roman's replica. It's untouched. First of all, well, let's take a look at Roman's untouched MPP replica. Okay, so this is how it comes out of the box. It's very nicely done. As you can see here, it's super chromed, very clean, very pretty. Let me open it up. I know some people are curious about the internal diameter. It is just like the real Flash. In fact, I think I saw a video of someone putting one of the end caps of the real one on this. I think I have a real end cap around someplace from my MPP that it's on my Boba Fett blaster. But I'm not going to go find it right now. You know what? Pause that. I will. Okay, I lied. I can't find it quick enough to be bothered with it. So anyway, I'm pretty sure someone put a real one on theirs and it worked. I could be mistaken. Anyway, so there it is. This is what they look like. This one is with the trapezoidal black bars, not the silver bars, and it comes with the large A New Hope style D-ring. one thing I did notice that he did pretty cool was the ESB ones. He got a different knurling, the diamond knurling pattern from the photos of the screen use saber, and the New Hope one has the typical MPP coin knurl knob right there. Now the if you look at the shroud, it's sort of crinkle painted, sorta. It's got a texture on it, but it's not really. It doesn't look quite right. The S is red, and I don't think any of the real ones that I've had have had a red S. I could be mistaken. Let's just look real quick. No red S there. Mine might have been red at one point. Kind of hard to say. It's got a red tinge to it, but I can't say. And I don't know about my Boba Fett one. I can't recall. So anyway, this is a real one for comparison. In fact, I think this is the only real shroud sitting here. This is the real one-step, original finish shroud as it came. It's got wear marks on it. This is how I got it. I got it off of eBay years ago, but you can see where the hood, the flash hood, was mounted. But this is what the original crinkle paint finish should look like. Now this one, I believe, is a Roy's shroud. I could be wrong, but the finish is very close to the real one. If it's real, it fits very tight, and if it's real, it's a little bit different from the ones. And I don't know, these, you can see kind of these machine marks. I don't think the real ones I've seen have that, and I think that might be an artifact of Roy's, but I'm not sure. If anybody can attest to that, let me know. This does look like it's a Roy's because it has the D-ring, and also you'll notice that the knurled knob up here is chromed versus machined. The dimensions are real close, except for this collar here is a little bit thicker. You can see that collar's thicker. And I've noticed a lot of the real MPPs have the tube showing there. So I don't really know for sure. We'll look at these more in depth here in a few minutes and compare them. But right now we're talking about the Romans. So it's really good, but there are some tells, so you can tell that it's a replica. One of the cool Easter egg things is the 1138 right there. It will be under the shroud. One of the things that I think somebody noticed already was when you take this off, the bulb, the test button, one of the holes is drilled too large. So for people who are doing Boba Fett builds, that might not work out. But for everybody else, it doesn't matter at all. So you will never know. The one thing that I did notice is these are much heavier than the real ones. Noticeably heavier. And the sync pins, while they do have metal contacts in there, like the real ones, you'll see there, they do have the metal contacts. These, on the Roman, seem to be embedded. They have no spring pressure to them. Putting the wires in there was a bit tricky. In fact, this one looks like it's missing the metal altogether, and I just noticed that. Huh. Well, that's something. You can see it there, but not there. Right? Yeah. So you can see them on this side, but not on that one right there for some reason. Well, anyway, you can't tuck wires up under there. So I had to drill holes at a diagonal to get the right placement for the wires to go in for the ESBs, or for the one ESB. So that's something to take note. Now, Romans does come with the MPP nameplate, right? So you can see that there. My kitty just wants to talk. It's not attached, so you don't have to worry about busting loose little rivets. But it's there, I guess, for display purposes. I don't know how you would attach it, but let's compare it to the real one. It's pretty dang close. It's not exact, as you can see, but it's pretty close. looks like we hit our 10-minute limit on my phone. Anyway, as you'll see, England is different. The fonts are a bit different. Enough of a difference to be able to tell if you're getting scammed or not for a real one, but close enough that it's a really good representation of what it looks supposed to look like. So that's that. Okay, now let's go into the what's next on the table. We have the Romans, A New Hope version. So this one I did. Now the owner, Tom, he wanted to have the nail in the sidebars like the original prop did. Now we don't really know what was under the bubble strip. It probably was the same configuration as the others, but we don't know for sure. So right now it has nothing until some better reference comes out. This is Roy's newest bubble strip, and it looks pretty good as long as you're covering up the sides. It does magnify like the real one. It's a really good replica for low cost. The best replica out there is the Rebel Scum one, which is actually cast from one of my real ones. But I don't know if they're available. So if you can't get one from Rebel Scum, then this is the next best thing. So again, this one has the coin knurled knob here. It has the big D-ring, which you can see in the reference photos is pretty much correct. I did crinkle paint over the factory texture to make it look more realistic, more like the real thing. I lightly weathered this one. He wanted it more screen used and not post-production. And you can see the reference photos from after it was screen used that it's not in good shape. So there's some light weathering done via paint, which can all be removed. And the short angled grips here. And the nail. The nail was probably the hardest part. Finding the right size nail. And there's no photo that I know of, maybe there is, a good photo anyway, that shows this angle of the lever. But I deduced by the fact that, so here's what a real lever looks like. And the replica looks very close. So you have this L shape that comes down, right? So there's no way that it would make this shape unless you crimp those legs around the nail. So that's what I did. I crimped them around the nail, and it's crimped together. And this, you can lever it up and down to open and close the clamp. But so that is the nail. I'm pretty sure I got the size correct, or very, very close. And that's the nail in the clamp bars there. The ESB is pretty straightforward, just like all the other ESBs. Longer grips. I did repaint the shroud here as well. I did put a smaller D-ring because the ESB has a smaller D-ring, and it does have the diamond knurl pattern up there. Now, David Yee, I think, is the one who found the, in fact, I'm sure he found the right size and color blue. And I found the right white, but I can't find this blue for the life of me. I can't get the right color right. I can find the right gauge, but not the right color. So I'm using his wire that he found for these, and it matches the screen use one almost exactly. I mean, it's dead nuts. So again, I had to drill holes, tiny, tiny holes here. And on the real one, it's tucked under that way. So the holes have to be drilled at an angle in. Now, the one thing, Roy sends some wire for the red. The real ports on the red side are small, much smaller than the replica ones, noticeably. The wire from Roy's won't fit in the real ones. So for the real ones, I use a slightly different gauge that fits. And for this one, for the replica, Roy's red wire fits perfectly. Now for the others, this is Roy's stuff. It's too big. This is on mine. I need to change these out. It's much too big, but the color of the gray is more correct. It's slightly lighter than the gray I can find, and I'm still searching for that. And when I find that, it's easy to swap out, except for maybe this one. But the brown is right, and this is more of the gauge in my opinion, that is correct for the ESB. Now this one we have a Roy's bubble strip with a sloth furnace replica blue Exactra board back there. And I lined it up to the reference photos. It looks like it's dead nuts on. So this is, I even added these scratches. He wanted it as it was used on screen. And these scratches are taken from a screenshot. So I know that these scratches that are on here are on the screen used. Oops, I'm sorry. Are on the screen used version, not just the post-production. The post-production photos of it are all chipped up and it's rusted and stuff, which is funny because I don't think anybody's run across a real shroud that was steel. And I'm sure they're out there. They must be if that was a real one. But the ones that I've had have all been aluminum, the real ones. So that's kind of strange. Anyway, it's lightly weathered up here, and I got this many of the screen accurate scratches that I can deduce from the screen used stills. And so I think this is as accurate as I can get it right now until we get better reference. Now let's move on to a real one. This is Nick's real MPP. I still believe this is a replica shroud, but this is a real MPP. This one originally came with these clamp bars, which were the just rectangular black ones, right? And he had got these trapezoidal ones somewhere online, I think on eBay. Probably Dean Bob or whatever his name is, who always sells everything really expensively, which I think is weird because I think if these are the same ones, they were bought cheap and sold very high, unfortunately. But that's the name of the game. But anyway, he's got the right trapezoidal bars on here. But I noticed in doing this that the clamp is a bit higher. It sits taller, just a smidge taller than the rest of the other real ones that I've had. And this is my other real clamp. This is my personal other spare. But otherwise, and I noticed that these uprights were farther apart, so they needed to be adjusted. And I actually, this tension pulled those in to get the bubble strip in the right spot. So this is a real Exactra bubble strip and a real Exactra blue bubble strip backing board. So all this is as authentic as possible, using Todd's T-Track here. This is about as close as it gets as well. And then you have mine, which is pretty much exactly the same thing, except for I have a real shroud. And neither one of us are going to take off our MPP nameplates. Now mine, when I did mine, I jacked with this forever before I saw the pictures that show that the bubble strip is milled down a little bit, and I didn't get the placement of the board exactly right. It's a little bit too far down, just a tiny bit, which makes a big difference when it's magnified. And I cut the bubble strip short, just a tad. But mine is more damaged, like the original one is, post-production. And it doesn't look as clean, but it looks closer to the post-production photos of how the prop is today. So my MPP was in, my clamp is especially in worst case. Some of this weathering was done when I was doing the clamp. And, but the rest of it's the same as it came. I need to switch these wires out. But otherwise, it's the same, pretty much. I don't have the trapezoidal bars. My clamps, both of my real clamps, have the just rectangular black bars. And, of course, I have the coin knurl. So, there's that. But I plan on using my other clamp, just whenever I have time, to swap those out and do another Exactra board with a blue backing. Because I think that one's a green back. I have a blue back one, and I'm going to redo it and use this clamp instead. And then I'll probably sell that one off. So when that time comes, someone can have a real clamp with a real Exactra board, cheaper than you would if you got it someplace else, just because it's not perfect. So anyway, that's it, guys. That's the main comparisons, show-offs, etc. It's about as many real MPPs. Well, I have a third one on my Boba Fett blaster, but it's already painted it's stuck on there, so that's not coming off.